She was shivering, forgotten, and alone, until he took off his coat and changed both their lives forever. You won't believe how a random encounter at a train station in the middle of winter turned into a love story that made history. The winter of 1993 in Wyoming wasn't kind. Snow piled high like waves frozen in mid-crash, and the wind howled like it was searching for someone to take with it. That night, just before Christmas, the old Cheyenne train station stood nearly abandoned, lit only by a single flickering street lamp and the cold silver moon above. She sat there, on a wooden bench older than her, curled in a thin hospital scrub coat, arms wrapped tightly around herself, lips blue. Her name was Emily Foster, a 29-year-old trauma nurse who had spent the last 10 years giving more of herself than she ever received in return. She had just lost her mother to cancer. The funeral had drained her savings. Her car had broken down, and she couldn't afford the repairs. She had a job offer in Billings and one chance to get there. But the train was delayed. The snow kept falling. And the only thing heavier than the storm outside was the silence and the ache inside her chest. Across town, Cole Maddox, 36, millionaire rancher and reclusive heir to one of the largest cattle operations in the American West, had just finished a Christmas gala he never wanted to attend. He hated spotlights, hated the hollow compliments and plastic smiles. But tonight, something gnawed at him, a restless pull he couldn't explain. Instead of heading back to his estate, he ordered his driver to reroute. To the old train station, he said quietly, shocking even himself. "Sir, it's nearly midnight," the driver protested. "There's no one. Just drive." They arrived moments later, headlights cutting through the storm, and that's when he saw her. Sitting alone. Shaking. Crying, though trying to hide it. Cole stepped out without hesitation, his boots crunching through snow. Emily flinched when he approached. A tall man, strong but softened by a gentle gaze. He took off his heavy coat and wrapped it around her before she could protest. "I'm fine," she tried to say, voice trembling. "No, you're not," he replied. "And you don't have to be tonight." He sat beside her, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Over the next hour, they talked. Slowly. Hesitantly. She told him about her mother. About the job she hoped would be a fresh start. About the loneliness that came from always being the one who helped others but never asked for help herself. He listened, really listened. For the first time in years, Cole felt connected to someone who didn't care about his money or land or name. She didn't even know who he was. When the train was finally canceled due to the storm, Cole made her a quiet offer: "I have room at my ranch. A guest house, warm food. You won't be alone tonight." She hesitated. But his voice wasn't threatening, just tired and kind. And she was too frozen to say no. The following weeks unfolded like the slow melting of spring after a brutal winter. Emily stayed just 3 days, at first. Then a week. Then she accepted his invitation to visit his barn, to see his horses, to join him on a ride. She was everything he wasn't: open-hearted, nurturing, humble. He was everything she feared to want: steady, strong, and safe. They talked for hours about life, about regrets, about the silence that comes when you're surrounded by people but feel invisible. One night by the fire, she asked, "Why were you at the train station that night?" "I don't know," he admitted. "I just felt like I needed to be there." Some call it fate. Others say it was divine intervention. But whatever it was, it kept pulling them closer. But love stories, especially the ones that make history, don't come without storms. When the media eventually found out about the mysterious nurse staying at Cole Maddox's ranch, the headlines exploded. "Millionaire Cowboy falls for common nurse," they mocked. Her privacy vanished overnight. Paparazzi camped outside the ranch. Her job offer in Billings was revoked. "Too much attention," they said. Emily broke down. "I didn't ask for this," she told him, sobbing into her hands. "I can't be your scandal." And Cole, for the first time, was faced with a real choice. Protect his name, or fight for the woman who saved him without even realizing it. So he held a press conference. Not to explain, but to honor her. "She is not a scandal," he said firmly. "She is the most courageous person I've ever met. And I don't care if I lose every dime. If loving her is a problem for anyone, then I don't want their approval." That night, the tide changed. Public sentiment turned. People saw the truth in his eyes, and hers. They married the next summer. Not in a palace, not on a magazine cover, but under a lone cottonwood tree on his ranch, surrounded by wildflowers and horses and the small-town folks who knew how rare a love like that really was. Emily opened a free rural clinic with the help of Cole's donations, one that still runs to this day, treating thousands who can't afford care. Cole? He gave up the boardroom for the barn. Started a foundation in her mother's name. And every winter, just before Christmas, they go back to that train station. Together. Just to sit on the bench where it all began. And maybe that's the real heart of this story. That sometimes the most powerful love stories don't start with grand gestures, but with quiet moments of kindness in the middle of nowhere. A millionaire and a nurse. A storm. A bench. And the choice to stop and care for a stranger. Because love, the kind that makes history, isn't found. It's made. In moments. In mercy. In showing up when no one else does. And that's what they'll always be remembered for. Forever.